What's up, everybody? I'm here today to talk to you about the new moon in Gemini, followed by the full moon in Sagittarius. The new moon happens on May 25th at 4 degrees Gemini and 46 minutes. And when I think about Gemini, think about, this time of year, the birds are flying around, the butterflies are buzzing, you have the buzz of spring, and I think about the vibratory frequency. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which rules our speech and our words and how we communicate to one another. And so it's a time when we can be especially more mindful about our vibration, about the words that we use, about what we're vibrating and what we're attracting, who we spend our time with, because Gemini is a social sign. Gemini is all about choices. So we'll dive right in. This new moon loosely conjoins Ceres, which is the planetoid about nurturing and how we nurture ourselves. Now, there's no right or wrong way to go about self-love. You don't have to sit in a bathtub and soak for hours on end. Sometimes people need freedom to feel nurtured. So it's all about getting in touch with what that is for you. So the question is, and you can consider this with your vibration and your everyday routines, is this nourishing? That's what we want to ask ourselves. Is this nourishing? So on a personal level, the new moon isn't making super close aspects, but it is talking to Venus and Pluto. And Venus and Pluto tighten into an exact square. And this is kind of a challenging energy to work with. So Venus just finished up her retrograde. We got real clear on what we want. Venus has been in Aries. So it's about being very direct about what it is that we want, and now we get to communicate it. But Venus squares Pluto. So this is like kind of the first test of implementing what the information that we received from the Venus retrograde. So Venus square Pluto, this can mean many, many things, but with the square, it implies a challenge. So it implies action. It implies that maybe this is the first time that we are confronted with a situation that we may have to change how we respond, because Gemini is all about mutability and change and options. It's all about choices. So what I get from this is that it may mean that we have to loosen our grip on something. Pluto can be an obsession. It can be something that we really hold on to. This can also bring things to light that we didn't see before, which means that we have to reconsider about how we respond. So I'm going to talk more about that aspect in another video, but this will get tied into the seed that we plant moving forward. So every new moon kind of sets the tone for the next 4 weeks, peaking at the full moon, which sets another tone for the next 2 weeks. But the new moon is the most important, and so we'll look at that right now. So the Sadian symbol for this degree is a revolutionary magazine asking for action. Now the question is, how literal will this be? And we don't know. I mean, we live in revolutionary times. The times that we remember, the times that we live in will be remembered as pivotal as the 1960s. A lot of those same issues are loud once more. As Rick Levine often says, these issues never go away. It's just that when the transits activate them, certain issues get louder than others. So we're seeing a lot of the same issues, of culture and expression and sovereignty and sexual freedom and political action and controversy, and these are certainly really major times. So and not just in the United States, but all over the world, we're seeing big changes happen, and every day it seems like something new, and it's almost like we're numb from all the shock that's going on. It's become the new norm. So how literal will this be? I mean, this certainly says a call to action. So maybe it's on a personal level, and chances are it's going to be both, but it's all about how you experience it, because not every new moon is going to speak to you as loudly as the others, depending on your own chart and what you have going on in your chart. But it's certainly interesting when you consider it in tandem with what the full moon is saying. So on the full moon, that is on June 9th, and it occurs at 18 degrees Sagittarius and 53 minutes. Sagittarius is also a mutable sign. It's the other side of the coin to Gemini. So they both have to deal with the processing of information, the seeking of information, but Gemini is all about facts and how can I apply this, and how can I question this reality, and it's all about trying all the different flavors. So, but then Sagittarius kind of synthesizes these facts and these experiences and this information into a belief system, a philosophy. So Sagittarius deals with the expansion of the mind. Now, what's really fascinating about the full moon is that Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and we always want to look at the ruling planet and what that planet is doing. So the ruling planet of Jupiter is stationing direct on the world axis point of 13 degrees of the cardinal signs. This is huge. This is very, very, very huge. I can't overemphasize this enough, which is why I'm tying it into the new moon chart, because we've been dealing a lot with this energy of Sagittarius, because while Saturn has spent its time in Sagittarius for the last couple years, it's ripped open the xenophobic wound. And Saturn is all about building walls. And while its primary goal might be protective, it's also literally driving a border between people all over the world in a time when we're supposed to be coming together. And the internet is opening our eyes to everyone else's reality all over the globe. And we should be having more compassion for one another and trying to learn more about each other. But instead, we have the threat of the wall. There's been a notorious threat of the wall between the United States and Mexico, which seems like it's not going to happen anymore, which is good. But then there was the excessive and oppressive travel ban that Trump tried to implement, and I don't know if he's through trying to do that or not, but so we've been dealing with this xenophobia and, having strong themes of Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is all about foreign travel and trying to understand other cultures and trying to glean what you can from them. And it's all about expansion and wisdom and higher learning, developing the higher mind, whether it's through education or experience or spirituality. I mean, maybe you're trying to expand the mind just by accessing your third eye point. But Sagittarius and Jupiter have to do with expansion. So that's the opposite of a border, right? So these are going to be huge themes here. Is what do you believe? What's your faith? Now, the full moon squares Neptune, and Neptune's all about deception and illusion and mysticism. So one thing to keep in mind here is when we're talking about belief is how true is that? Especially going back to the Gemini new moon, which is asking us to question and to see what our options are. So these are going to be themes moving forward. The Sabian symbol for the degree of the full moon is pelicans disturbed by people move their habitat. So again, motion is implied and movement and change. But the moon conjoins Saturn, which I was just speaking about. So this is implying a little bit of resistance, maybe responsibility, some kind of limitation, having to take responsibility for something. So Jupiter also has to deal with the law. So that's another theme that we might see. Another thing I want to bring up about this full moon is that if you look at the similarities between this chart and Donald Trump's chart, there's a lot in common. So I am suggesting that he's going to play a strong role, a strong presence in and around this full moon. The full moon happens a few days before his birthday, and he was also born on a full moon. So he's, again, Sun Gemini, Moon Sagittarius, and we're seeing this here. Trump was also born on a Jupiter station also, so his moon answers to that Jupiter. Another thing is that his Jupiter is also in Libra, so we're seeing a parallel there. Another thing we're going to see is that the North Node of Destiny, which I made another video about, lands on his Mars at this exact time. And in Donald Trump's chart, Mars rules his 4th house of the home, and it also rules his 9th house of international relation and also law and belief. So we can expect to pay attention to these themes and see how he plays a role in the unfolding of this event, because as above, so below. So we are in revolutionary times. Let's see if there's a call to action. Let's see what happens. So I leave you with this information to process it as you will. Take from it what you wish. Let's see what happens, and just keep the walls dissolved. Waheguru.